Good morning, everybody from the BA team. The chair, Vishal Dhingra, General Secretary, Achal Kansal, Tanya, Assistant General Secretary, joining us. Nitin Mohan, technocrat at GAB, at our GB team on BA from Triberg. Vishal Sinha from Team BA, General Body member. I hope I haven't forgotten, to welcome everybody here. And now I will go straight into welcoming the panelists. We have divided our talk today between two sections. One which will be in discussion with Apurva Agarwal from Auto Couture, with Major Dinesh Dr. Kundu and Mr. Neeraj Ahuja, who is partnering with us on our CSR efforts at BAA for the COVID times, and we've been very inspired by what needs to be done. So he will be our knowledge partner on this program. This is the first part of it. The second part will be in discussion with Mr. Sarath Chandran Ramakrishnan of RSJ Inspection Company. It's accredited by NBCB now, and he will be joined in the discussion with Mr. Anil Johri, who is ex-CEO of NACB, and Mr. V. Mathivanan, AGM of Ordnance Clothing Factory at Chennai, under the Ministry of Defense, Government of India. I would also like to congratulate Mr. Sarath Chandran for getting the certification for ISO 16603 test certification required as per DGFT notification on the 20th of July for export of PPE. Just a little bit of introduction on protective clothing equipment. Some of the questions that all of us are keenly interested in is what is the government's contingency plan on the PPE product? Why are there so many notifications protecting the export of PPE from the country? What are the statistical requirements of PPE for our country? And what is the overrun in terms of the production that is happening today in India? Then the things that are very interesting today going forward is that we know that PPE is being made from synthetic polyester fibers, but which is disposable. And we have to look at the environment issues on the disposable of these polyester fibers. What is the future of PPE? Because we have also from the apparel industry that I come from, we know about technical fibers which are fire retardant and are used in several industrial requirements. So we need to know where are we going forward with this PPE plan. Now, PPE covers protective equipment for potential contamination in the current corona times. This is probably going to be one of the things that is now going to be standardized for future use, either in the disposable format or in the reusable format. So some of the discussions that we will be covering here should give us an idea of where we are going forward in the exports and how is the government going to help us. I won't say help us, give us a guidance in terms of what are the requirements in India and what is the need to have so many notifications for the exports, creating a bottleneck in the manufacturing processes. Because if you look at it very clearly, we have manufacturing of PPE in the domestic market, for the domestic market. We have ordnance production going on for us, 3 services, and we have the export manufacturing. Now, the export manufacturing and the domestic manufacturing comes under the MSMEs. So they are not looking at huge quantities. Nobody is going to be exporting like 1 million pieces overnight. But the small factories that have started PPE, and I must give credit to all the factories, for converting within 30 days the requirement in their factories to PPE production, procuring the raw material, and getting this job done and at the hospitals and factories everywhere. It is also, I would like to here make a point that I am concerned in a key way about the export industry. I feel that we are the first, the very first, to start with compliance and accreditations for our production. So
Rohini, we lost you. Unmute, please.
You are muted.
Rohini, you're muted.
somebody muted me. Somebody muted me because my hands are here. What happened, Ankit? All right. So where did you lose me? Can I go back to it?
No, carry on now.
All right, fine. Take it. So let us look now at the subjects, what we are going to be discussing today in the two sections that we've done. And we hope to have some time for the interactions. Please do send in your questions, which Nitin will be taking up with the appropriate panelists for discussion. So we hope we have some time. And then finally, we would like, I will, as soon as Apurva finishes, I will get in to introduce the second team. And then I will do the final with our team, with Vishal. So let's go forward, Apurva. I'll welcome you from Auto Couture to take on the first team with Major Dinesh Dr. Kundu and Neeraj Ahuja, who is our knowledge partner on CSR at the Buying Agents Association of India. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohini. Thank you for the introduction. So, good morning all. I would like to talk about the PP product and the crisis management at the factory. So, I have lined up the few questions here for Mr. Ahuja. Mr. Ahuja, I would like to know, because I have keep getting this questionnaire from the buyer, what is the different guidelines and specification for the surgical gowns and mask? Hello, Mr. Ahuja?
Aren't we starting with Dr. Kundu? Apurva?
Okay, we can start with Mr. Kundu. Hello?
Yes, Apurva.
Yeah, I would like to know that, you can also reply for this. What is the different guidelines and specification for surgical gowns and masks? What we should take care of it?
Sure. So, Apurva, I'll request you to just enable my screen sharing. I think that will help everybody to look at it while I'm speaking as well. Can you kindly enable my screen sharing?
Yeah, it's active.
All right. Thank you very much. No, it's still showing disabled.
बैंक चेक कर ले कम तो नहीं है
Okay, done. Received.
तो कम कहाँ से
Okay.
11 तो है.
So can everybody see my screen here?
Yes.
Yes. And anybody not talking, could you please switch off your mics, please?
So Apurva, to your question, different categories and your specification guideline requirements for the gowns. So what I'll do is I'll take this question in terms of what are the medical gowns, surgical gowns, and surgical isolation gowns. That will help us clear what is needed and how they're classified. So this classification which I'm showing over here is this is the FDA classification called AAMI classification, in which they're classifying it in 4 levels, level 1 to 4, at the depending on the level of risk the person wearing the gown is taking. So as would be clear from the, like say, level 1 is minimum risk and level 4 is highest risk. So the important thing to understand is as the risk goes higher, so risk is not only in terms of fluids, it becomes increasing in terms of your pathogens. So level 4 gown is the one where basically it's like a long surgical procedure when we need not only the fluid resistance, but we also need the pathogen resistance. So just this is a pictorial, I'll just use a pointer. Pictorial depiction, so this is level 1 to level 4. And so Why difference between a medical and a surgical
क्या
gown
मुझे बोल
is,
रहे हो कुछ क्या
difference between a medical and a surgical gown is that to get the classification as a surgical gown, you need to be regulated as a class 2 medical device. So there's actually, in terms of fiber and in terms of the level 1, 2, 3, 4 AMI, there's no difference. The difference is whether you have got pre-clearance or a FDA classification as a surgical and surgical isolation gown. So surgical gown also can be like say level 1, 2, 3, 4. Only difference is when FDA gives you 510K pre-market notification. So this is a surgical gown. So when we define surgical gown or surgical isolation gown, that is in terms of your critical zones there. So I'm just depicting the critical zones for a surgical gown, and this is a surgical isolation gown. So I do not want to go much deeper into that, but main thing is surgical isolation gown has all the critical zones of the body covered, whereas a normal surgical gown has like the back completely open, the neck part completely open. So that's the main difference. And how FDA looks at this is FDA looks at a couple of key parameters: your tensile strength, your tear resistance, seam strength, lint generation, and vapor transmission, which we call breathability. So these 5 parameters, when you submit the data to FDA, FDA gives you either a pre-clearance or this basically you get this AMI, this level 1 to level 4 for your classification of your surgical gown. So this is in short. I just wanted to explain. Is there any further question on this?
Yes.
Do we have different parameters for disposable and reusable?
Right, absolutely. So for reusable, we need to show that when we are reusing it, it retains the parameters on which it is qualified. So for example, when we say a gown can be reused 10 times, so we need to show the clearance, like say for example, pathogen clearance or liquid barrier performance after that many washes.
Okay. I would, yeah,
Yeah, can you hear me now?
yeah, please.
Right. So reusability is approved by FDA only when you show for each subsequent wash or autoclave of the product, you are able to meet the parameters for liquid barrier performance and pathogen barrier performance. So that's the basic difference, sir.
Okay. So I have a one question here. So what is the FDA general recommendation for medical devices, as in including the mask and gowns?
Correct. So I'm just taking you to that basically devices part. So FDA says the medical device categories are defined by FDA. So your PPEs which are worn by healthcare professionals, they are classified in type 2 medical devices. Type 2 medical devices are governed by CFR regulations. So these are the specific CFR regulations which I'm just pointing on the left hand side. So these are the product codes and specific guidances. So what FDA says is any of this personal protective equipment which has to be worn by a healthcare professional or a high risk setting, they need to be governed by type 2 medical device. So that's the general guideline of FDA in terms of all your masks, your pediatric masks, surgical masks, your respirators, as well as your gowns, face shields, and all the critical accessories.
All right. And then do they have all these product has any particular expiry date, like surgical medical gowns or masks?
Yes. So they have to keep their shelf life. They have to define their shelf life. So shelf life, they need to do testing on the stability data. So suppose they store the mask for 6 months. After that, they do the testing. So depending on the data, FDA defines a shelf life, agrees for a shelf life for you. Normally it is 2 to 3 years because they have like 24 months data or 36 months data.
This goes to same gloves also, because I think the particular lifeline for the gloves.
So Apurva, different items can behave differently in terms of shelf life. But main point is how you are designated a shelf life is on the basis of data which you submit to FDA. So they ask how much stability data you have done for this particular device, which can be a mask, which can be a glove. So I do not exactly know how much is the shelf life, typical shelf life uh, designed to a glove.
Is it the shelf life of the fabric or after the garment is made?
After the garment is made, Nitin sir, so what FDA looks at is the finished product. So suppose you taking the approval for a surgical gown example. So that surgical gown should be able to withstand all the changes which happen because of storage, because of various environmental conditions. So it's not the fabric, it's the finished product for stability and shelf life which FDA is concerned about.
All right. All right. I have one more question for you here. What all fabric and material are available in Indian market, or are we importing some fabric for as per the buyer specification? Example, level 4, when I was trying to find, because we were getting a lot of inquiries as major corona time for the level 4, and we couldn't find in India in terms of the testing, also in terms of the specification. So where we all can get the fabrics.
So I think this question is better taken by Ahuja ji. Would you like to take this question about the specific factors there?
We can help you, madam. We have got a fabric.
Hello, Mr. Ahuja? Hello? Mr. Neeraj Ahuja?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to know about the, all the fabrics and material is now is available in India, like all the level 4s are available in India.
All the level 4s are available except for there's a shortage of Tyvek. Other than that, all are available in India. Level 4 is basically we can use double S, double MNS, and that is freely available.
Okay. And what other fabric you are just calling? Can you just give us?
Yeah, like the basic fabric is the spun bond fabric with lamination, which is the base quality, which is one time usable, and absolutely like 6-8 hours it has to be used. It provides protection for that period only, and it has no breathability. Then in these non-wovens, we have SMS, which is spun 3-layer fabric, spun bond, melt blown, and spun bond. Then we have SMMS, which is 4-layer, which is spun bond, melt blown, spun bond. Then we have double S, double M, double S. And then is Tyvek. Then we have a lot of new innovation coming in fabrics, in like weaving fabrics, like woven fabrics with lamination, which are breathable also. Basically, it's a polyester fabric, satin types, and with laminated layer inside, which is breathable and reusable. So you can autoclave them, you can ETO sterilize them and reuse them.
Okay. So for the fabric only, I have a question here. So do they export has a different fabric specification, as in the customer is coming like, I need only this fabric, so or all the fabric can be fulfilled?
For like it's again, there's a different market for different products. Like, for example, most of the government things in PP kits abroad also is this one-time use PP kit, which is the base fabric, which is like the market is flooded with the base fabric. Like if, for example, in March, the base fabric was 200 rupees per kg, it is now 120 rupees per kg because of the increase in capacity. And there's huge availability, like market is flooded with the fabric. So that base fabric is there. Again, for example, in India, most of the state governments take this spun bond fabric laminated. And if you go to higher end hospitals, for example, AIIMS, they want Tyvek or something like that, which is a breathable fabric as well.
Yeah. Sir, how do we get to know that the fabric is breathable? Like, what is the properties to understand the fabric is breathable?
No, there's a specialized test on that, which all these like DRDO and this ordnance factory, CITRA, even SGSS, I think now started doing the test, TUV as well.
Neeraj, there's a question from Anika. Does PP plus TPU is available in India? It is better than other PP fabric?
No, PP plus PU is this laminated only.
Okay, laminated.
Yeah.
It is available in India.
It is flooded in India.
Okay, but is it manufactured by Indian companies or it is?
Yes,
being
yes. It is manufactured by Indian companies.
company?
All these non-woven bag manufacturing companies,
Okay.
like the fabric which they used to make for bags, they have started making this PP kit fabric.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another question. Somebody has done a research. None of the fabrics have any anti-pathogen treatment required for level 4. So how can a normal SS MMS fabric be used for level 4 gowns?
No, sorry, I didn't get you. Can you repeat the question?
Somebody is asking, can a normal SS MMS fabric, I don't know what this fabric is.
It is like spun bond, melt blown, spun bond.
Can be used for level 4 gown?
Yes.
Okay. Sunit, does that answer your question?
I have a question here for then you here. Level 4 has a Mr. Kundu also shared the slides. Level 4 is only clear when this has a little properties add on in SS MMS fabric. So I mean in India, are we having a sourcing of a specific and the mills are providing the certificate for level 4?
Couple of mills are doing that.
Okay, and they're providing the certificate. So
yes.
All right.
If anybody needs any resources for that, I can give the names of the mills also. That's not a problem.
And does the India have all the level testing available for gowns? Because the few testing was not available.
About a month back, it was not available. Like they were outsourcing to Hong Kong, most of the labs. But now, a couple of labs have started doing it in India.
Yeah, AAMI level 4.
Yeah.
Now it's available.
SGS Chennai is doing.
Now they also started doing it.
Yeah, about a week back.
Okay, and Mr. Ahuj, I would like to know that how will your organization ensure the well-being of the people and the safety of your protective accent in the event of crisis? Like how you are taking care of your employees in this crisis?
See,
what is action taking care again?
See, first is like how to ensure that any of our employee doesn't get infected, or how we can't ensure rather how to make sure that any infected person is not allowed to infect more people. Like he's not. So we have proper measures in the factory. Like basic is the temperature check. And then we have sanitization stations in all the work areas. Whenever anybody goes out, comes in, we have that sanitization. Plus, most of our workforce stays in a common area. So we sanitize it, we check it there also. Plus, we have collaborated with a local COVID hospital in case of any emergency, so that our workers are treated there at discounted prices, and we are paying for that. We have a full-time collaboration. Plus, we have got all our employees are now COVID insurance covered.
Okay, so basically, so do they have any different communication channel or protocols decided by?
We have our HR head is taking care of that, so that if in case of any issue or something like that, he can immediately coordinate with the administration and local hospital. Okay,
so different channel is already planned in.
It's already there.
Okay.
Actually, we got into this in end of March. As soon as this thing happened, Corona came into lockdown, Corona came. So we immediately started all these measures.
Okay. So that we have keep getting the question from the buyer. That is the factory is following the Indian government guidelines or WHO protocols, and we would like to know about the WHO protocols also. What needs to be taken care in the factory?
See, the basic protocols all over the world are the same. The most important is sanitization, the distancing between, like for example, if we in an area we had 50 machines, we reduced it to almost 30 machines. Then we ensure that anybody who enters the factory has a mask on him. In the PP kit, we use gloves for all the people are wearing gloves, proper sanitization, washing stations. These are the basic guidelines. And if anybody has an effect, we have to immediately sanitize any symptoms or something like that. We immediately sanitize, get all the workforce tested. Touch wood, till now, nothing has happened. But it can happen.
Okay. So last question from my side for you. Does your organization have the crisis management team to manage unplanned crisis? And
Yeah.
you know what
Yes.
happened? This is the corona. We all aware. But in future, like you have some certain order is going on and unplanned crisis again is starting. So do you have a different planning to
Yes.
save customer order going on time and things for the other people's security?
Yeah. See, there are two aspects in this. One is the financial aspect. We have blocked some funds in case of some emergency. Something is required to be procured at a faster pace or from other sources, because we have a supply chain. We have, for example, somebody providing fabric, somebody providing seaming CLTA, somebody providing threads. So we have to ensure that the whole supply chain is also protected. So we have multiple sources for the same product, same raw material. Then comes the part of this making up, stitching and things like that. So for example, if we have an order of 100 units and the proposed plan is to complete it in X amount of time, we plan it like that. We double the amount of workforce on that and plan it in such a way that even if something happens and we are to be closed for say 2 weeks or 10 days, that has to be covered. That's
All right.
with the production planning and financial resources.
Okay, and you have decided the different communication channel for the quick action.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a question for Mr. Kundu. Mr. Kundu, I would like to know the type of the specific mask in terms of the FDA, in terms of the export and the local market, because there are the few different surgical and a couple of the masks. Could you please explain us?
Sure, Apurva. So basically, different countries have like different specifications and regulatory nomenclature for the mask. Say US, like say for 3-ply mask, it's universal. They call it like say non-medical and surgical mask. For N95 mask, the table which you see over there. So like FDA has this N95 New York certification. Europe they go by like FFP2. So Europe, EU follows FFP1, 2, 3 as guidelines there. China has K95. Then we have for Australia, New Zealand, Korea, Japan. So idea of showing this table is if you see this closely, the filtration efficiency of almost all of them is 94-95%. So effectively what we are saying is any mask where 0.3 micron filtration efficiency is more than 94 or 95% falls in the category of your N95, or you can call it a FFP2. They differ in certain parameters, like say, okay, how they are testing with. They're testing with only NaCl or paraffin. What is the flow rate? What is the your exhalation flow rate, inhalation flow rate? So they differ in these small parameters. But key part is whether we saying KN95 or N95 efficiency wise, and for a person for a use wise by a person or a healthcare professional, they provide the same level of protection.
For the surgical mask, okay.
And this is basically now coming to surgical and 95 respirator. So I've taken this is like the FDA one, so that it's easier for us to understand. Then we can extrapolate it to other countries, because the normal 3-ply mask, the fitment of that that's not there. So definitely, I mean, it's not going to provide the same level of your filtration efficiency as your N95 respirator. Main difference is this purpose of use, and your that's very different for a surgical and N95. So N95 is for your, like I said, your more than 0.3 micron particle aerosols. It is for basically that kind of filtration only. So and whereas if we look at surgical mask, so surgical mask we are saying it is basically to protect the person from large droplet or some splash. So the use and the purpose is different. And similarly, we need to the requirements which are there, like fit test requirement, seal check requirement, leakage requirement. So those are requirements there for N95, whereas for your normal surgical mask, those requirements do not apply because the intended use is different. So this is like this slide also shows it very clearly. It's for large particle, viral outbreaks, droplet of saliva or splashes, whereas N95 is very specifically for small particles up to 0.3 microns or more. So does it clarify some questions, or you have anything more specific in this regard?
I have received 2 questions from my buyer regarding this one point. They asked me, is the surgical mask, what is showing me right now, it's clear the level 4?
No. Surgical mask, when we say surgical mask is, a mask is designated surgical mask by FDA when it is accepted as a type 2 medical device under 510K, your nomenclature. So this is same mask which is basically like your 3 layers, outer, your non-woven, and then melt blown, and your inner layer is the same mask. Only thing is the testing which has been completed on this, that complies with FDA medical device type 2 specifications. So it's not a type 4 related to type 4 gown at all in any relation. Is that a question, right?
Yeah, close by. And another for the N95, the customer asked me they want 95 to 99% bacteria efficiency in the testing report. And so how we can achieve that? Is it possible to achieving 98 to 99%?
Yes, absolutely. So see, more than 95% can mean 99 also. So what guarantees there, it's going to be more than 95%. But when you do the testing, so it will be from 95 to 98, 99% only. So it is absolutely possible. It is designed in a way that lower limit is met. So it does not specify the upper limit because that will create another classification, because there's N99. If you need more than 99%, we have N99 mask. But that comes with like a specific valve and all. That does not come without a valve. So if we're looking for a solution without a valve which is N95 to 99 is comes in the category of N95 respirator.
Okay. Mr. Ahuja? Hello? Mr. Neeraj Ahuja? Like, so can we do that? Like, if we have if the people are getting order for N95, achieving the bacteria efficiency of 99%, is it possible to manufacture?
I think yes.
Yes. Okay.
Even for surgical mask, we are achieving 97, 98%.
Yes.
Even 99 as well. It depends on the quality of melt blown used in the mask. Am I right, Mr. Dinesh?
Absolutely, sir. See, your filtration efficiency is defined by your filtration layer. Filtration layer is this melt blown layer. If you're using a very good quality melt blown layer in a surgical mask, it can achieve 97, 98 up to 99.
Yeah.
Similarly, in N95, we are using 1 or 2 melt blown layers. So definitely possible to achieve 98, 99%.
Mr. Ahuja, can you show us some product like a PP kit and gown? So this is
Sure.
the request.
Sure.
We would like to see the couple of the masks and then the.
After this, Apurva, let's move to the next panelist and we can have more question answers.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, my screen needs to be shared.
So I'm stopping sharing.
Yeah, Dr.
Just give me a second. Yeah, I stopped sharing.
Neeraj ji is struggling.
One moment.
I don't mind see the physical sample because I think we know we would like to see some physical sample
Sure.
if you have. If you can show in the video right now.
Also, Apurva, Major Kundu's physical samples, if he has, would be nice.
Yeah, because
of his production.
Yes, ma'am. Just give me a second. While Neeraj is bringing it up, I'll also bring it up.
Pradeep को बुलाना.
Or we can carry on with the next panelist and we can show the product right at the end.
Yeah, I think.
So, Apurva, who's the next on the panelist? Who is the next person?
Yeah, Apurva.
Mr. Shah is going to take it from here now.
Nitin, I'll have to move to the next section. So let them finish. I'll give them another 3-4 minutes to finish this up, wrap it up, and then I will go to the next section.
Okay. So, Neeraj, can you show the product?
Yeah, I'm just trying to share it.
No, don't share it. We would like to see some physical sample.
Okay. इसको बुलाना पिंकिता को.
Does Major Kundu have the samples? Maybe what we can do, Apurva, while they collect the samples, we'll move on to the next section, and the discussion is there on compliance. They can show their product in between. All right. So that was a great, there was a nice talk between the three of you, which was very informative. We'll look at the product in a little bit, but I'd like to move on to Sarat Chandran. Sarat, if you could please come on and say hello. I'd like to introduce your, I've already introduced your panelists, Mr. Mathivaran and Mr. Jory. So if you could start the conversation on the compliance issues, as you are from RSJ Inspections, you have been doing PPE inspections and have recently got the IS standard for, is that IS standard, Sarat, is ISO 16603 test. So if you could speak to us about what are the requirements from the industry, what are you looking at the factories, and how is it going to be happening for us?
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarat. Please come on.
Yeah. So hope my voice is audible, Roginiji.
Yes,
Yes,
it is.
Okay. Thank you, Roginiji. Thank you, Apurva. Thank you, Dinesh and Neeraj for giving very useful information. And so I have two panelists, Mr. Jory. He is my ex-regulator. So I need to be very careful, what are that certification accreditation I use. So thanks for giving that introduction about that ISO 16603. So this is one of the DGFT requirements. Anyone who wants to export, they're supposed to take a license every month. They need to apply from 1st to 3rd. Out of that, one of the criteria is they are supposed to have ISI license, or they are supposed to get a certificate from NABCP accredited inspection body. So we are one of the accredited inspection body for textiles, Text 04, and we got assessed by NABCP to give that certificate. The formal announcement is yet awaited. So once it comes, then I can announce that we have that accreditation to give that certificates to manufacturers who want to export to apply that DGFT application. Okay, so let me introduce one of my panelists, Mr. Jory. He is a standard expert, and he is having a lot of international exposure. And he is retired as a chief executive officer from a National Accreditation Board for certification bodies, which is governs all the inspection and testing and certification bodies. And he holds civil engineering with honors 1978 from Punjab Engineering College and MTech from Indian Institute of Kanpur. And he worked with Standards Institution, now called the Bureau of Indian Standards. After that, he joined Export Inspection Council of India. Then he joined NABCP, and from NABCP, he retired as a Chief Executive Officer. Thanks, Mr. Jory sir, for accepting the invitation and being here and sharing your expertise. you can share your presentation. And sir, like please see if you keep it in 10 minutes time, your presentation and your sharings, so that like participants will have time for questions.
Okay. Thank you, Sarath. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for inviting me to this forum. Let me share my screen and so can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
You can, okay. All right.
Sir, can you make it a full screen? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let me give you the current scenario in India and which impacts exports also in some ways. Always, you can't be divorcing the domestic scene from the exports. So PPEs right now, the healthcare PPEs are in focus. I mean, sometimes I wonder why only crisis brings products to focus, and both in terms of quality and quantity. And India, fortunately, which was a net importer, now is itching to export. It has ramped up its capacity. And now it's been claimed that we can export, and exports have been started. Although the first opening of export of coveralls last month did not draw any eligible exporters for coveralls. So we need to know what is the domestic regime. We should also recognize people should also recognize that PPEs are not only for healthcare, but they are also for industry purposes. They are used in construction, they are used in mining, they are used in several other places. So healthcare is in focus right now. Let's not forget that PPEs have uses beyond healthcare. Now, given that this is health and safety consideration, these are liable to be regulated. Unfortunately, in India, they have remained unregulated till now. PPEs are not regulated today. You don't need any license. You can just go ahead and manufacture PPEs, which is in some ways good for ramping up production, but some ways not good because it's not assuring the minimum quality that is needed in the market. It so happens that the Ministry of Health has notified a new definition of medical devices with effect from 1st April 2020. And that definition covers PPEs for healthcare. Well, earlier, the Ministry of Health used to notify product by product on medical devices. They would notify a particular product, it would come under regulation. Now they have switched their approach. So there's a all-embracing definition. If your product falls within that definition, it will be classified as medical device and automatically will be deemed to be regulated. However, 18 months time has been given for voluntary registration with CDSCO, which effectively means that the Medical Devices Rules 2017, which is the regulation in place, will kick in earliest on 1st of October 2021. What does Medical Devices Rules say? They say that BIS standards apply first, which is the national standards. If BIS standards are not available, ISO, IEC standards, these are international standards, they apply. Therefore, you could face a problem that if BIS standards are not on par with international standards, there could be a problem. You are looking for something more than what BIS is offering. In view of the COVID crisis, the Ministry of Health issued some guidelines for rational use of PPEs in March 2020, I think 24th of March. They also gave specifications for PPEs in an annex in that particular guideline, which covered all these items: gloves, coveralls, goggles, N95 masks, shoe covers, face shields, triple layer medical masks, and body bags. Funnily enough, or surprisingly enough, they do not cover gowns. I saw one speaker speak about surgical gowns, but the specifications given by MOH did not cover gowns, incidentally. They also prescribed foreign standards. They did not prescribe BIS standards at all, in fact, except one product. They prescribed ANSI, which is US, or ASTM, which is again US. EN is the European standards, ISO standards, even EC regulations. Except in medical mask, which is a triple layer mask, which is, they said BIS standards are equivalent. And for coveralls, they prescribed only a minimum requirement of blood penetration test and nothing else. So in gowns, when it was spoken about breathability and rest of the requirements or viral penetration. Please remember, for coveralls in India right now, MOH does not prescribe anything other than blood penetration tests. These are guidelines. They have no legal backing really. So they are not obligatory for every manufacturer. But in public procurement, because it's a government guideline, the government procurement is going as per this. And somebody said the major procurement in India is government procurement, so most people would have to comply with this. Unfortunately, because of the fact that there is no regulation and there is no obligation, there is unverified claims being made by people in terms of N95 masks or coveralls, and there's a lot of, it's a risk that there are a lot of substandard product in the market. Now, MOH guidelines also say that a certificate of analysis from national or international organization or labs indicating conformity to standards would be acceptable, without really, frankly, clarifying what does it mean. What is a national organization? What is an international organization or a lab? And since it was not specific enough, all kinds of certificates are there in the market, and I'll show you some examples. Not only in India, it seems the world over there are unauthentic, what I would call unauthentic certificates, even fake or duplicate or counterfeit, which are different terms and different situations. So you have to be careful when you are buying PPEs from anybody on the kind of certificates that you are getting from them as proof of compliance. As a general principle, any laboratory which issues a test report or any certification or inspection body which issues a certificate of inspection or a certificate should be accredited. And the certificate should bear the accreditation body logo. So there should be a logo of the CB or the inspection body or the lab on the test report, and there should be logo of the accreditation body. That will ensure for you that the lab or the inspection agency or the certification agency is accredited. And there is an international system where they are members of, the accreditation bodies are members of International Accreditation Forum, IAF, or International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, ILAC, which is for labs and inspection. So they draw their traceability from being members of this organization and from peer evaluation and international equivalence. There is a system of international equivalence. So an accreditation body in India, for example, NABL, I'm sure, and all of you have heard about NABL as lab accreditation body, is internationally equivalent and therefore equivalent to any lab in US or in Europe or anywhere else in the world. Same thing applies to, Sharath was mentioning about his accreditation as inspection agency with NABCB. They were accredited when I was CEO, and that makes them equivalent worldwide. But you will have to look at, please be careful, you have to look at the scopes of accreditation of a certification body or an inspection body or a lab. Does your requirement get covered in the accreditation or not? There is nothing preventing a lab from doing 100 tests, only 10 of which are accredited. So rest of the 90 tests are not under oversight of the accreditation body. So you have to be careful when you're using them. As far as Europe is concerned, there is a system of notified bodies in Europe for medical devices as well as for PPEs, industrial or healthcare. And therefore the certificates ought to come from the notified bodies only, which are only in Europe, not in India. Or you should have a proof of regulatory approval, like US FDA was very well explained by my previous speaker, co-panelist on US FDA approvals. You should have an approval from. Now here are some examples of certificates. This is actually the first certificate I was shown by CII. A very famous industrialist, I will not name him, was wanting to import PPEs and donate them. And this certificate was given to me, whether this certificate is okay. And I looked at this and got back to them saying, no, this certificate is not okay. It's not authentic certificate. As a double check, I could do it by looking at the certificates with my experience of certification. But as a double check, I got across to the Italian accreditation body, because the certification body mentioned here is Italian, ECM. The factory is in China. And I wrote to them and asked them, who is this certification body called ECM? And they came back to confirm what I doubted, that this certification body is neither a notified body in Italy, which means it is not notified for PPEs, or nor is it accredited by the Italian accreditation body. So both of those were missing. So I classified this as an unauthentic certificate. Here is another certificate that you can see, issued by some certification body, and it is having, if you can see, two logos. On the right side is the certification body. On the left side, he claims to be accredited by somebody called GSCB. But when I go to IAF website, which is the international body, I don't find this name as member. So this is some private accreditation body and a private certification body issuing certificates which I would classify as not acceptable and unauthentic, because we can't authenticate these certificates. We don't know who these people are. I don't know who is QCS. I don't know who is GSCB. Another certificate you can see includes CE mark as well. As I said, certificates under European system or for CE mark can only be issued by notified bodies. So all I have to do is to go to the EC website, look at the list of notified bodies and check whether this body is notified there or not. And I find that they are not. So this is not an authentic certificate. So what I did was I wrote down a guidance, and this is adopted by these industry bodies, Association for Ethical Providers of India and Association for I think National Board of Accreditation Institutions. And there is a guidance available on the website. You can look at it, how to verify authenticity of certificates. Otherwise, my email ID is given. You can always drop a mail to me or WhatsApp to me. My mobile number is given on in the transparencies, these slides. It will take probably 5 minutes for me to tell you whether the certificate is authentic or not. So what do you do when there are no regulations in India? Then the only option is some kind of voluntary mechanism whereby you can be sure that it's a good quality. Now there is something called ISI mark, BIS certification, which exists in India, but it is limited to only those products where BIS standards are available. It is available for N95 masks. They are called FFP2 in BIS system, or in Europe also they are called FFP2. FFP3 perhaps is N99. Somebody spoke about N99 masks also. So some of the standards are on par with international standards in BIS, some of them are not. So what you can do is to go to the BIS website, which I have given here, bis.gov.in, and you can actually look at the list of manufacturers certified by BIS for every standard. So IS 979473 is for N95 masks. You can look at the list of manufacturers, and then you can be sure that you are getting certain quality. Or if you are having a certification from a private certification body, as I said, it must be accredited. If it is not accredited, you should not even touch it. The easiest for you is to make sure that there is an NABCB logo on the certificate. Similarly, as I said, if you are using a test report, the easiest for you, if you are not very technical, is to make sure NABL logo is there on the report. If it is not there, that means those tests are not accredited, even if the lab claims it is accredited. And I have given the website addresses of both NABCB and NABL. You can go to their websites and see the names of accredited agencies by NABCB and accredited labs by NABL. In between, Ministry of Textiles started an initiative by certifying coveralls. Initially, there was only one lab, Citra. Now I see there are 10 of them, 10 governmental labs, including ordnance factories labs. However, that system has one problem, that it only provides proof of capability of manufacturer. It does not provide continuing assurance. And somewhere Ministry of Textiles says it's up to the buyers to a certain quality. So you can go to Ministry of Textiles website at this link, and you can find all the Ministry of Textiles notifications relating to coveralls. So when you are, if you are a big buyer, it's best to get a third-party inspection done through an NABCB accredited body like RSJ sitting here. Get the samples tested in an NABL accredited lab and establish for yourself that what you are buying is meeting the requirements that you specified.
So can I come in? This is Nitin here, related to this only.
Yeah.
I have a question. If I get an order from a buyer and I meet his parameters of inspection and whatever test he asks for, I give it to him. Do I still have to get some Government of India test done before shipping?
No, there is no regulation. You are not required to do any Government of India tests. But as I think Sharath mentioned, the DGFT notifications, which are now allowing export of coveralls, are saying that either you should have BIS certification or a certificate from an NABCB accredited body. So they are still requiring you to have some certification locally, despite the fact that you may be having regulatory approval from abroad, or you may be meeting the requirements of your foreign buyers.
Yeah.
And therefore, the choice is yours whether you go to BIS for certification or you go to an NABCB accredited third-party inspection agency. Between the two, all I can say from my experience is it's cheaper to go to NABCB accredited inspection body than
So
to go to BIS.
basically, it is a mandatory requirement to have a Government of India,
Yes, through a DGFT notification, yes.
It's a mandatory
yes, for export. For export, yes.
So why does government do this? I mean, because it's a contract between me and my customer, and a customer will not take the goods until I don't give him his whatever he wants.
That's correct. That's correct. But the government had this, apprehension.
What is the reason? I mean,
I'm telling you, the government had this apprehension that we should not end up spoiling our name by exporting substandard products. So they wanted a certain level of quality must be there.
Yeah.
Because like in India, it is possible that there are not enough regulations elsewhere. Most countries have regulations on PPs actually. If you want to export to Europe and US, certainly there are regulations. So that's only as a matter of abundant caution. Personally, I may not agree with that requirement. That's a different issue. But I can only explain to you why they have done it.
Okay, so basically,
I personally may have a problem with this. I may feel that it's imposing an unnecessary requirement. It might have been better to impose a requirement which helps him to export rather than a requirement which may not be relevant to export. Anyway.
Yeah, because buyer, it doesn't matter to the customer. He's I'm following his instructions.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, it's a requirement.
Yes, it's a requirement to export as of today.
As of now. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So when you are exporting, the challenge is that they are in most developed markets they are regulated. So there are by law requirements set for PPEs, and you have to meet them. And in a region like EU, there is a separate regulation for PPEs and there's a separate regulation for medical devices. And PPEs for healthcare fall in medical devices. So there is, you need to be very clear. Europe relies on a concept called intended use. So you have to make it clear what is the intended use of a product. If it is not healthcare, it will get covered in PP regulation. If it is healthcare, it might get covered in the medical devices regulation. And of course, US FDA regulation, somebody explained very nicely to you. Now, so what happens is current standards in India may not be sufficient for you to export. Please remember that while you do the domestic demand or domestic supply. For example, in coveralls, as I said, there's only blood penetration test which is prescribed, and the buyer may want the foreign regulations, especially because buyers would want what their regulations want. Prescribe things like breathability or viral penetration test and some other tests also. We tried to do some exercise to help Indian exporters on where are the notified bodies in India who could help you with export to Europe, because Europe has a concept of notified bodies. Now, notified bodies are only in Europe. Please remember that. There cannot be a notified body in India. They are only in Europe, notified in Europe. However, some of them have either their branches here because they are multinationals, or they have associates here. So we tried to capture that list, and this list is available. We could find only 3 of them which had both PPE and medical device regulation approvals, because you could be moving from one to other regulation. But I have given you a link here. This is a very informative website on medical devices and PPEs. You go there, and those 10 bodies which we could locate are listed there, out of which 3 are having both PPE as well as MD regulatory support. And in case you are looking for consultants, then there is a body called the Consultant Consortium of Chennai. There is only one association. Consultants are otherwise very scattered, and you don't know who is who. And I have given again the website link. You can get across to them. These were they were in dialogue with Ministry of Textiles. Ministry of Textiles also said that okay, if somebody wants a consultancy to upgrade, he can go to this set of consultants. They have a system in place. I'm aware because I am in both these cases. I am involved in sort of I'm sort of guiding them. Right now, I'm in a very social service mode, so I'm guiding lots of people.
Can a trader, non-manufacturer also export?
Well, I'm not sure what DGFT guidelines say, but to my mind, he'll have to show all those certificates. So if he has he would have to have an arrangement with a manufacturer to show all those certificates.
Neeraj, any information on that? Can a trader export?
Anybody with IEC, he said anybody with IEC code can export.
IEC
So I guess,
plus all the
IEC is a requirement. Okay.
IEC plus all test reports.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So these are some of the website names or links where you can find help if you're wanting to export. So there is this. I mean, no doubt we have ramped up our capacity, and we are now saying we have more capacity we can export, and industry is actually demanding that the export should be open. But the issue of quality, which is there in the market in India as well, which means that we may not be meeting global regulations. So you have to be careful when you are sourcing from India to source it from the right manufacturer who can demonstrate to you that he complies with foreign regulations. For example, lab testing, we could not find an N95 mask test lab yet, complete test in India. Similarly, coveralls for breathability and viral penetration, etc. Probably Citra is the only lab right now. Somebody mentioned SGS. I'm not sure if last 1 week they have done. I just sent a WhatsApp to SGS. Let me see if I've got a response. No, not yet. Not yet. So maybe. So of course, now government has allowed export of samples also. This was also one of the demands, that how do I export if I can't test the products? And many exporters were actually waiting to send the sample outside for testing, like you said, Hong Kong or somewhere. So now it is, of course, available, this facility. So my caution to you as a buyer would be, at the end of the day, that please be careful about the certificates and the test reports that you are getting, and please make sure that you get authentic test reports and certificates.
There is a test called ISO 18184. Is it done in India?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check. 18184. What is the test about?
This is about PP only. One of the panelists, participant had asked that where is ISO 18184 test done?
We'll have to check. And best is to go to Enable website and try and see whether you can look at that test.
Okay.
Yeah. Enable is the best place to go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Jory. We are already at 12:30 and we are anxiously waiting. That was wonderful information that you were so concise and very good for all of us. I would like now Sarat to take on the next panelist. It's going wonderfully well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ragini ji. Thank you, Mr.
I just have a response from SGS. Viral we don't do. Viral penetration they don't do. Just had a response.
Okay. Got it, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jory, for a wonderful presentation.
Sarat,
Yeah.
before you start, there's another question. Are antiviral finishes cost effective for disposable or for reusable? The antiviral finish, what we do, is it economical for disposable gowns or for reusable?
One of the previous panelists should answer that.
Okay. So we'll go back. Sarat, you carry on. We'll have questions in the end now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
We're running out of time also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let me introduce my next panelist, Mr. Madhivanan. Thank you for accepting the invitation and being here for your views. Mr. Madhivanan has done BTech Textiles from Anna University, and also he has done BTech from PSG Coimbatore. He joined with DRDO as a scientist. He worked there for 4 years. Then he joined with Indian Ordnance Factories, and he is there for more than 32 years now. And he is responsible for technical textiles. And he is his factory is manufacturing tents, uniforms, and other technical textiles. And they have started this PPE coverall and mask from scratch. And also they have the laboratory, which is one of the approved laboratory for a blood penetration test. Sir, now panelists for you, you can share your presentation. Sir, please cover it in 10 minutes in a presentation so that we will have enough time for question and answers.
Okay.
Madhyanan sir.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. See, basically, we are manufacturing uniforms, as Sarath said, 10 days.
Sir, your voice is low, sir. Can you be a little louder, nearer to the mic?
Yeah. Okay. Hello. Now it's okay.
Yeah, it's better to know. Yeah.
Okay. Basically, our factory, it's an ordnance clothing factory already. We are manufacturing uniforms, tentages, parachutes, many other technical items for the armed forces. When nation was facing crisis for coveralls, masks, we have been asked to manufacture immediately for urgency. That time we have come into play for manufacturing coveralls and masks. That time only we started identifying the sources for coverall, mask, material. We got the fabric, then we were in search of testing. Then for HLL purpose, they have mentioned that Citra Coimbatore.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Mathivanan. Your sound is extremely low. The members are also facing an issue. And Ankit,
Okay.
is this Mr. Mathivanan's sharing, or are you doing your own?
Yeah, I'm Madhivan. Hello.
All right. Could you come closer to the mic, please?
Okay. Now you could listen. Hello.
And the screen share is Mr. Mathivanan, from your factory, the medical coverall.
It is.
All right.
Ma'am, I'm sharing the presentation. However, this was sent to me by them.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you.
Could you listen, madam?
Yes,
Hello?
much better. Yes, that is the tone. Can you
I
please?
think I have to come close. Yes. Okay.
Thank
right.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
See, I am from Ordnance Clothing Factory, Avadi, Chennai. Basically, we are doing uniforms, tentages, parachutes for armed forces. When nation was facing crisis, medical coverall, mask, we have been asked to manufacture coveralls immediately. That time we were in sourcing for getting material for coverall. We were finding difficult that time. Even when there was a lockdown for going for testing and all, there was only one testing facility that time. Citra Coimbatore was available. We have to go for being just like that. Any going to manufacturing for coverall, we went to test at Citra. And when we are approaching for manufacturers for giving input material, many persons, they say that Citra approved, authorized manufacturer for giving coverall fabric like that. One thing I want to clear here, Citra gives only test certificate, nothing more than that. Citra is not, the manufacturers are misguiding that Citra is authorized, Citra's certified giving for coverall material like that. Second thing, when we got the fabric, there are many fabrics. Even when we tested in synthetic blood penetration test, it got failed. Initial samples got failed. Then we had gone for further improvement in that, approaching further manufacturer, and then we could get the correct material, and then we could use that material in our manufacturing. Let me go into the presentation, then in between I will cover all those things. Basically, this presentation is meant for coverall only. We have covered. Medical coveralls are used to protect the healthcare workers and practices from protection against body defects. Having integral part of both head, foot cover can be worn a regular clothing. Joint seams are covered with the seam sealing mechanisms, that is sealing tapes, glue, etc. Next. Hello. Hello. Yeah. See, basically in this, we have found that basic fabric, that is GSM Nano 1 fabrics, low GSM Nano 1 fabrics, preferably polypropylene spun bond fabric, considering weight and cost factors. And GSM ranges from 40 to 100 is available. What we could identify that 75 GSM is working, that is a spun bond laminated one. laminated PE, PU, or any suitable material to offer resistance to liquids. Reusable medical coveralls also, we have seen that manufactured using laminate woven fabrics and breathable membrane are used in between so that the coverall fabric will have better breathability. Hot air sealing tape is preferred for seam sealing for reusable coverall and full proofs. Basically, see, when we go for taping, there are many persons simply apply pressure, even see with the hand pressure they were using it. So that and all, when we go for testing, it will generally fail. Here we have given generally for a basic fabric, what are all technical information we have given. Material, what IS standard test methods also we have given. Mass, generally basic fabric will have what is the basic fabric like PP, lamination, PE are better. Then mass we have given roughly what we have used is 70 plus or minus 5%. Bursting strength, normally it is specified. Tensile strength, both horizontal direction and vertical direction. Then T strength, then pH value. This is what we have given in our specification. Then shall be designed to cover the full body of the wearer. Be made from front to opening. Basically, there is a front to opening. Openings, elasticated size of it. That is, it should be loose fit. Shall be loose enough to perform all the activities by the health workers without any hindrance. All the seams shall be made by sealing with the waterproof tapes. Here, that waterproof tapes, what we say, it has to be, you have to select the correct tape so that it matches with the base fabric. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are all material what we have used in coveralls, zippers, front opening, where we are in the front. Twin threads joining the components, elastic for elasticating all this seam sealing tapes. Again here, elastic, it has to be sufficient enough to grip. At the same time, too much grip should not be there. Otherwise, sometimes it saw pain coming because it gives more tightness. Anyway, this is a simple pattern. We can skip this slide. Next slide. Slide, please. Yeah, simple tailoring we have shown here. Single-head lock stitch machine where the components are joined together, and front shall be made with the zipper, closer or opening. Zip shall be covered with a flat to avoid exposure. The face, wrist, and leg stands. Okay, it's again simple. Here we have used tapes, that sealing machine. See, basically in HLL specification, it was sealed with the tape over. That was the specified. So we have used the tapes. If you want to have correct one, it has to be, heat sealed. That only gives better results when we go for synthetic blood penetration test. Next slide. Next please. Hello. Yeah. See, from the previous one, please. Previous one. Yeah. See, when we had interaction with the users, the feedback we received is coveralls making noise in normal usage. Stiffness of the fabric is more and it creates discomfort. Breathability is not there in the fabric. See, what we have seen, there are many manufacturers, they gave even polythene laminated one, where it gives noise and it is stiff. Naturally, when we go for a non-woven with laminated, breathability is also not there. So for these problems, we found a solution also. When we go for breathable membrane with in between layers, woven fabric can be used where you can have breathability also. At the same time, that is a flexible fabric also can be used. Slightly the fabric cost will increase, but that will be comfortable to wear, number one. Number two, it will not give noise, it will not be stiffness. Breathability is also will be there because as earlier our Jawahari Saab said, we can go for that water vapor transmission test and all, it will have breathability. And only thing for doing those tests, you have to go for the enabled accredited lab where you get the correct fabric and correct results also. Otherwise, you should not fear. Anyone says that authorized, certified, all those things will not work in that. Just simply given where the protection or how it works. Next slide, please. Next slide. Hello. Yeah. See, basically for synthetic blood penetration test, there are 3 test methods: ASTM F1610, ISO is 16603, and IS standard 16546. Basically, in HLL specification, they said ASTM F1670 has to be used, and there are test methods. How I will show the differences between ASTM 1670 as well as ISO 16603. And other one is this pathogens ASTM F1671. To my knowledge, right now I don't find anyone is having in Chennai, or I'm not getting any information for this test accreditation also. Even in CITRA also, to my then there is a BAS certificate. Recently it had come. This next, please, next slide. Yeah, basically this is the most important slides in this presentation. If you ASTM F1670 procedure A and B, I have only compared ASTM test as well as ISO test. If you look into ASTM test, it is first level, that 0 kilopascal, only 5 minutes you have to find out any that synthetic blood leakage is there or not. After that, slowly you have to rise to the 13.8 kilopascal. You have to wait for 1 minute. Is there any leakage or not? After that, again you have to increase to 0 kilopascal, and 54 minutes you have to test it. If you see here, the total time taken for one specimen is 1 hour. When you go for ISO 16603, you see here that there is A and B is it is only there is a with retaining screen, without retaining screen. When we go for coverall fabric, it is always normally we do with the retaining screen, because where the you see that elastomeric fibers are there, then it has to elastomer. That better to use retaining screen, otherwise not required. Now next, if you go for ISO 16603, 0 kilopascal, 5 minutes, then NB 14 kilopascal, 1 minute, 0 kilopascal, 4 minutes. You see the difference here. And when you go for procedure C and D, you see the levels how increases. It depends on the earlier speaker also has shown that depends on requirement. This has to be addressed. For example, if you see here 0 kilopascal 5 minutes, then 1.75 kilopascal, and again the same level. Slowly we have to increase for the next level 5 minutes, and 3.5 minutes, 7 kilopascal again 5 minutes, 14 kilopascal 5 minutes, then 20 kilopascal 5 minutes. If you see, it is slowly by one level to another level, we have to increase and see that whether any leakage is there or not. Then when there is a leak, we note that what level it is leakage, and to that extent we have to give report for that. See, the problem when we faced testing problem with the CITRA, then we thought to develop, because during lockdown we have to travel to CITRA for doing testing, because there were number of samples the CITRA they were having, and it took long. That if you see here, in one fabric they do 3 specimens. In one coverall fabric they take 3 specimens, and seam portions also they take 3 specimens. 6 specimens when they test. It took they have 1 or 2 equipment only, and you to test one at least 1 day they take. That means you see the number of coveralls they were having and sample that they were finding difficult to give test report immediately. Then immediately what we decided, we started doing developed the equipment, tested starting testing in our factory itself. Then we have gone for enable accreditation also, and we got accredited. In addition to that, then we projected to our sister factory, because there were problems only CITRA, and we have in Chennai we had a facility. then we projected to our department head. Then immediately we started having, one laboratory in Kanpur, one in Muradnagar, Delhi, one in Mumbai we covered, one in Calcutta, MSF also we developed the facility. So that whoever wants to test, they can test in various regions, and all those labs have been recognized and approved by that time Ministry of Textiles also, that whoever wants to test, they can test like that. Anyone is interested in fabric sourcing for covering with all those requirements, can get my number also. We can help you for getting the fabric sources. And otherwise in Chennai right now, testing facility in SGS SGS Chennai also have been accredited. They are also doing testing. That is what my...
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, Mr. Mathivanan. Your generosity is wonderful. And Sarath, don't run away, Sarath, because I'm talking. Thank you so much. And the members have all appreciated. Anika Pasi has said a very technical webinar. So we will be putting this on YouTube for all our members so that they can study it. And some of the links that you have sent us, we will be putting it on the YouTube also. Ankit, please make a note of that. So all the information is there for the members to be able to connect with these with the gentlemen on preferably on Gmail instead of phone number, on mail, so that they can get, so going forward, Sarath, could you please close with your panelists who have been absolutely wonderful, and they kind of tied up with Major Kundu and Neeraj Ahuja to give us a very nice spectrum of PPE today. Please, could you close up, Sarath, please?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Madhivanan. Thanks for sharing your experience of developing a product from scratch, and also your experience of testing laboratories. Thank you for your offer to give technical support. Anybody wants to test anything. Thank you, Mr. Jory, for sharing many good links, like particularly to see that Chennai
voice is cracking, Sarath. Your voice is cracking.
Okay, is it better now?
Voice is cracking. Just switch off your video and talk, please.
Yeah, yeah. Is it better now?
Yes, much better. Yes,
yeah.
Much better.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jory, for sharing that many things, and also sharing that idea how one can check that fake certificates, and also that Chennai consortium details and useful standards. Thank you very much for your time and sharing your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarath. And thank you, Apurva. Now I'd like to invite the chair.
Excuse me, just one comment. Anil Jory here.
Yes, Anil.
Yeah, just one comment. People should be clear that the list of labs given on Ministry of Textiles website is only of government labs, which they designated. However, there are more labs available. You should go to NABL website. There are more labs available for testing PP. So please don't get confused between these two. There are beyond the Ministry of Textiles, there are private labs like SGS available who can test PPs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Anil. I'd like to now invite the chair on request him to take up what Mr. Anil Jory said, and which is a concern of the factories like Neeraj Ahuja, is that the abundant caution which is being followed by the government should not be applicable to the export companies, because the exporters have to toe the line of their customers for exporting the merchandise. So this becomes a very important point for BA and its team to follow up. And here I'd like Mr. Vishal Dhingra to have a few words on the subject so that we can close today's session. And thank you all again. I am so grateful for all of you to spend your time here in these days of lockdown plus homework, etc. Thank you so much. Vishal, over to you.
Thank you, Rohini. Thank you. First of all, I would like to begin with, on behalf of BA, by thanking Mr. Mathivanan and Major Kundu for serving the country and helping us out in these tough times. Thank you, gentlemen, both of you. And then, of course, Mr. Johri for his insight and knowledge he shared with us. I'm not at all technical at all to be actually commenting what he shared and what Mr. Ahuja told us. And I would like to thank Mr. Ahuja for giving us the PPE kits for CSR purposes. But anyways, going back to the question what Rohini raised, our government usually has a knee-jerk reaction to everything. It's such a large organization. The government of India is a large organization to begin with. So they have a knee-jerk reaction to everything. So when we wanted to export PPE, they came up with no export PPE. Then we came up with a mask and they said, sorry, no export of masks. And I believe our Christine Dry from our office at BA, our ex-chair, she fought and she got the approval from DGFP along with other people, I believe, right? Right, Rohini?
Yes, absolutely. We fought to get our textile masks and the fashion mask going out of India.
Yes.
Without restrictions, and we got it.
And we got it. I remember, Christine fighting for it and you all going together out there. So I believe we should be able to get some respite here also eventually. Because India, with all its people, they call it the MSME has enough capacity to serve the country, and MSME has enough capacity to export also. We should get a waiver. There's no reason for us not to export. Help our own country and help the world actually out of it. So those are my thoughts. Okay. Technically, I'll defer to Mr. Mathivanan and Dinesh and everybody else here. Thank you.
Yes, in fact, you're right, Vishal.
Yes.
Anika said the same thing just now, and she said that we need to see this again and again to be able to understand where exactly.
No, she wanted to think, I want to actually go all over again.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. So
Please
we'll
go
be reviewing all this and troubling. And thank you so much, Vishal. And thank you, team, all the background team, Ankit, Tanya, Achal, our GS and our assistant GS, Nitin, for setting all this up and supporting this direction of PPE for today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair. And goodbye for today. Have a great lunch and see you soon on our next knowledge webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nitin.
Neeraj, are you there? There's a last question. Neeraj, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
This coating, what somebody was asking, is it viable to do it on a disposable one or the reusable?
A reusable one.
It's more economical to do it on the reusable one.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So one sec, I have a question from Mr. Ahuja.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of PPE kits through a charity that we run, and so I'm now, after this webinar, I'm going to have to relook all of the QC standards that we have currently been following, because I guess some of them might not be as relevant as we thought they were. But we'd like to get in touch with you and to procure some PPEs which we do on a regular basis. So
sure.
I'll take the address from the knowledge team.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal. I think CSR is a great thing to be doing, really.
Yeah.
And thank you all the BA team, Rohini ji and Nitin Mohan actually. Thank you very much both.
Rohini ji, lovely webinar. Thanks a ton for this. Nitin ji, Rohini ji, both of you, great webinar. Thank you all the panelists.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Achal. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.